How to accept that your parent won't change, and that you won't get the apology you deserve. There are wounds we carry that time does not erase, not because we haven't healed, but because the ache is rooted in something deeper, in someone we once trusted, in someone who was supposed to be the source of comfort, but wasn't. A parent's love, or lack thereof, shapes the quiet architecture of our minds. It tells us who we are, whether we're safe, whether we matter. And when that foundation is cracked by neglect, by criticism, by silence, we learn to bend ourselves into shapes just to feel seen. We try harder. We stay small. We internalize what was never ours to carry. We become adults still waiting for a moment that may never come. An apology, an acknowledgement, a simple, "I see now how I hurt you." But instead, there is silence, or defensiveness, or denial. And in that silence, something in us hardens. It's a special kind of grief, not mourning a death, but the absence of what should have been. Grieving the parent you never had, grieving the version of them you hoped would emerge one day, softened by age, ready to meet you where you are. But they don't. And here you are, still yearning, still waiting, still wondering if maybe one day they'll change. But tonight, I invite you to ask something harder, something quieter. What if they don't? What if the closure you seek will never come from their mouth? What if the peace you crave is something you must give yourself? This is not resignation. This is liberation. Accepting that your parent won't change doesn't mean you condone what happened. It means you're no longer trying to fix what wasn't yours to fix. It means you stop arguing with a version of reality that refuses to shift. It means you stop begging for love from a well that has always been dry. You deserved better. That's not up for debate. But justice is not always poetic. And sometimes the apology never arrives. So the healing becomes yours. You begin by mourning the fantasy, the parent you wished you had. You let yourself feel it fully. The sadness, the anger, the confusion. You stop pretending it didn't hurt. You stop blaming yourself for their shortcomings. And then, something subtle begins to change. You stop expecting them to hold your pain with tenderness. You stop handing your worth to someone who didn't know what to do with it. You reclaim it, piece by piece. You begin to parent yourself, to speak the words you never heard, to set boundaries where there were once none, to soothe the child inside you who waited for years for someone to say, "I see you. You matter. I'm sorry. And in this slow untying, you begin to see your parent clearly. Not as the giant you once feared or idolized, but as a flawed, wounded, perhaps emotionally unavailable human being. Not evil, maybe, but limited, unable or unwilling to go where you needed them to go. And when you see that clearly, you stop trying to make them into someone they're not. This is how the cycle ends, not with a loud confrontation, but with a quiet surrender. You may still feel pain when you visit, still ache when you remember, still long occasionally for the words that were never spoken. But the difference is this: you no longer live for it. You no longer hold your breath in their presence. You no longer hope they will become someone new. You have let go of the story that they must change in order for you to heal. And in doing so, you create space to become your own source of love, to speak to yourself the way they couldn't, to choose softness where they chose silence, to choose protection where they chose punishment, to choose honesty where they chose avoidance. This is the quiet revolution, breaking generational cycles without fanfare, choosing wholeness even if it begins in pieces, choosing peace even if it feels unfamiliar. And as you keep choosing yourself, you begin to feel lighter. Not because the past has disappeared, but because you are no longer dragging it behind you, hoping it will turn around and say, "I'm sorry." Maybe they never will. And maybe that's okay, because your life is no longer defined by their limitations. Your story no longer revolves around their awareness. You are free, not because they gave you freedom, but because you stopped waiting for permission to live. And when the grief comes, as it will, let it. Hold it gently, like a younger version of yourself. Remind that child, "I'm here now. I will not abandon you." And then rest in the stillness of self-trust, in the warmth of your own truth, in the home you've built inside your own heart. No apology needed,